The video game horror genre, the sheer discussion of this can hold many different meanings to people. This is a horror game, this is a horror game, and this is a horror game. Trust me, this last one will absolutely wreck you. Now, here's a special thing about horror games versus most other video games. Inherently, the game being fun doesn't have to be the forefront to have a good time with horror games. An excellent horror game should be able to convey a sense of unsettledness throughout its narrative and environment. During the year of 2021, with the looming pandemic over our heads and the economic uncertainty of the housing market, I decided to add another layer of chaos into the mix by delving into the horror game genre, with my first choice being Outlast at the request of a dear friend for Spooktober. A video game where horror and sheer uncomfortability is at the center of attention. You play as Miles Upshur, an investigative journalist, and after receiving an email about experiments along other unsightly information regarding the Murkoff Corporation, Miles jumps straight into the heart of the disaster at Mount Massive Asylum. And yes, this place is massive to the point where it contains multiple ground floors with questionable foundation stability, chapels, and so much more. Now, the main focus of the quest for Miles is to expose and gather information provided what really happened behind closed doors with the Murkoff Corporation.
And before I dive deeper into the review, I'm going to straight up be very honest. This game clearly gets an M rating in my book and also the fans of millions due to some of the settings and everything else you're going to be able to see. So for the first time in my channel's history, viewer discretion is advised.
Now I'm going to be jumping from serious to horror nature in this review just so I can be able to have a great coping mechanism. Seriously though, let's delve into this game and why I think it's definitely worth a playthrough. The environment of Outlast is truly disturbing to say the least. The whole complex is very often poorly lit and at times completely dark. So the game gets around this obstacle by equipping Miles' camera with the night vision lens. The night vision lens is very much a finite resource due to the consumption of batteries, which you will find scattered throughout the compound as well, and on normal difficulty, the amount of batteries is just right for a first time playthrough, and even for those who would like to straight up blitz through any stealth-like game, you should be fine. The majority of the lore is told through various documents throughout the compound, and it helps reward the player for exploring off a somewhat of a linear experience, though as a heat of caution, this can lead to a more hazardous event, as well as just being horrified of what you're actually going to find in those documents. Along the way, you're going to be seeing blood on the wall, blood running down the sewers, bodies everywhere, and of course, plenty of random inmates who are forever scarred from what happened. Though, trust me, throughout the playthrough, anytime I was not able to have access to my night vision or camera in general, you may start breaking down. Keep in mind with the environment and lack of consistent light, a highlight for this game truly lies in the use of sounds. This game did a fantastic job at layering sounds with everything from the music, the echoing of near and far objects, inmates, and of course, various sound effects. The game utilizes jump scares in such a way that makes full use of whatever's happening on screen, usually whenever you're on high alert or when your guard is coming down, along with audio cues for added effect, and just when your heart level gets back down. The instant you hear this chase music going on, you're instantly back into cardiac wreck level. The music for Outlast stands out amazing for what it wants to convey. A sense of, I gotta get the hell out of here. One of the most memorable uses of music is the constant use of both string arrangements and of course percussion instruments to provide both a sense of movement and chaos with a bombastic nature. The audio engineer and the sound team, along with all the musicians in general in this game, you knocked out of the park with this one. One of the key strengths for Outlast itself is the gameplay itself. Now, as a standard reporter, Miles literally has nothing besides his jacket and camera. No weapons, nor anything. So in the face of danger, all you can do is run and hide away from the brute throughout the asylum. This adds a sense of terror like anything I've ever felt before in a game. The fact that I'm truly powerless and have to resort to such tactics, such as running and hiding, really helped make this endeavor special due to the uniqueness of the nature of the game. And also considering the fact that the whole game itself is terrifying, it further cements on how unsettling this game can be. During the gameplay itself, you have to traverse multiple wings, different floors, the outside corridor, and even down to the sewers to escape. Each area has their own way of progressing, mostly residing in the sense where you have to find X item to progress, all while in the jump scares and the dangers such as walkers, or even worse, The twins. Not even including the fact that the two are completely naked, which is terrifying of itself. But being in the room with them together has this very ominous presence that just gives you a sense of unsettlingness that just cannot be shaken away when playing such a game. So I would find myself nearly just wanting to get out of that room as soon as possible. Outlast succeeded in actually making sure to fully utilize all mechanics in this game, whether it be running, crouching, hiding, jumping through vents, or even out of windows and shimmying your way through the next level, and even away from danger, which all of these gameplay mechanics felt very fluid and very easy to go through. When playing this game, be sure to also keep an open mind and don't be afraid to experiment. There isn't any limit on lives and checkpoints are pretty forgiving, so if you find yourself stuck at a progression, stop, look around, and then see if you can fully grasp your surroundings. Because sometimes all it takes is just missing out on that little corner we can couch through and go into the next room to really rustle your jimmies. You can even boil down this feature not being able to fight to a sense of realism. Face it, you're a human with no special powers besides limitless cardiovascular health in Outlast. Sounds familiar, right? I felt this added a little bit more immersion to play through this game because it truly felt like what you would be doing aside from making the obvious call to 911 for help. With everything I just mentioned, there were a few things I wasn't too settled on, and this is mainly coming from my own thoughts and experience as a gamer, and I'll make this portion brief. Personally, I wasn't a fan of the story, the ending itself. Like, during the game, like what happens at the ending is... But that's just me personally. Another thing I wasn't too keen on is reading this game. I'm not referring to the aspect of actually reading through the documents for the lore and the background story, but after a while the game gets pretty predictable in terms of what you need to do, when you need to do it, and generally how you need to do it and where to look. For example, once you get to a new area, it's mainly find this item or activate these items. And thinking how the game wants you to explore a good deal amount, you can usually expect to look around elsewhere upon finding the first one. For example, on a floor, if you find the item in the north, generally you're going to want to look in the south or a different direction that is away from the entrance where you just access to. I feel I was able to get through some of these areas insanely quickly, considering this is my true first full playthrough of a horror game, because I put 2 and 2 together in terms of mapping out where locations would make sense to be. And also some of the locations mapped were very frustrating due to the fact the game tried to keep everything dark and spooky. Case in point, when you're trying to find Father Martin, and when you eventually reach the courtyard, it's such a constant downpour and you can really only use night vision to navigate. And this subjects the vision on where to go because it took me nearly 20 minutes and draining a lot of batteries because it's just a big, vast, open, watery wasteland that really didn't amount to much tension in the story of the game. But eventually, we found out that I was supposed to shimmy along an edge that you can actually ham from, but what you're supposed to do is actually climb on top of it and then shimmy to the left. Which would have been nice if I had a little bit of light to kind of showcase that, but you know what, I digress. And ultimately, after a while, with this game being about 6.5 hours, the gameplay can be pretty repetitive in the sense of fashion of what you have to do constantly. What may have been a little bit more of a breath of fresh air if they added a different type of chases. There was actually a pretty good, interesting concept in this game where you have to literally go through multiple different doors and escape from a variety of different enemies. This ultimately had to come down to quick reaction time and critical thinking, and also just trying to see what actually works. This was actually a lot of fun because it introduced a different type of mechanic where instead of being worried about being found out or attacked by Walker, you're trying to outrun a bunch of different various of enemies. Having a few more implementations of levels like this would have been a little bit more fun because it would definitely breathe up some of the fresh content the game needed. Thanks for everybody watching my Outlast review here. If you made it to the very end, I want to say I really do appreciate that, and comment down below in the comment section Waluigi Rider just so I can actually know that we do have it. Plus, that'll be our little secret. Don't forget to subscribe for more content in the future, and also don't forget to follow me over on twitch.tv/metallicaerox. Honestly, some of the streams we have there are a blast, and we would love to have you be a part of our community. Plus, you get to have a little bit more metallic action, and who doesn't like that? Have a good night, everybody. Stay safe, stay hydrated, and most importantly, stay awesome.